Just about ready to get out of here. Um, I'm running a little bit. I got ready and I had a few minutes left to just absorb some sanity before I go out the door. It might rain when I'm gone, but I'm just gonna let it roll. Um, I just feel like I need to make some modifications to my pack that I take to and from work, since it's going to be very, very unlikely anymore that I'm riding after dark. I might reduce the weight of the lights that I'm carrying. I've got everything charged. I might, for tomorrow, I'm still putting one blinking light on the back of my bike for the sake of safety first thing in the morning, but it's light when I leave. It's just a little bit of extra, hey, there's someone on the road in front of you. I don't go to the extent of turning on headlights when it's light outside. Some people do. Some people have flashing headlights, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But I am getting to the point where I'm like, do I really feel like I need to carry lights? The chances of me being out after dark are pretty low. And there's just some other thing that I just can't wait to get out of this place. There's a back patio attached to the main house, and there's a couch, some chairs, and a big TV. And the people that live here are always sitting out back watching TV and stuff, and that's fine. I've sat there a few times. But it's a situation where whenever I open the door to this tiny house, there's a whole bunch of people staring at me every time. Every time I poke my head out, even if it's just to grab something off my bike or grab a bike or do something like that, there's always people around the house. There's always someone staring at me, and I cannot walk from the front door of the tiny house to the gate that I use to come and go without people, what's up, where you going, what's going on, blah blah blah. And and it's fine, and nobody's being mean. It's not, I don't have any, it's not that. It's not that I'm like trying to avoid these people. I don't want to talk to the landlord, but other than him, I don't mind any of these other people. It's just, I don't want to be here anymore. And like, I don't know, how many months could you, if every time you walked out your front door of your house, your apartment, whatever it was, there were people sitting right there staring at you. I lived in this one duplex in the city of Pittsburgh, and it was on a fairly busy street, back, neighborhood street. Not ridiculously loud or anything, but lots of houses all up and down the street. Directly across the street from me, there was an old guy and his wife, but it was mostly the guy. He would go for walks in the neighborhood, but when he would walk past my place, he would stand directly in front of my building and he would just stare. And he would stand there for 15 minutes at a time, staring at my apartment. I always had the shades closed. I never had the front windows facing, the back windows that faced, there were some woods behind the house, and so I always had all the other windows in the place. I had they were wide open to what was outside. Never blocked the view of those windows, but the front facing windows to the street, I always had the blinds drawn shut. Never, ever, ever did I have those windows open to where the light could come in. And it was because of this guy. He would go for a walk every day, sometimes more than one, and he would always just stand directly in front, like What would you do if somebody was walking around and they just stood in front of your house and stood there staring at your house on the sidewalk 15, 20 minutes at a time? Even though, like, there's nothing I could do. He's on a public sidewalk. But what the hell? Like, he would just stare at the building for 15 minutes at a time. And, like, to the point where friends of mine would come over and I'd be like, watch this guy. And we'd sit there and we'd, like, peek out the window blinds at this guy, and he'd just be standing there with the hands behind his back, facing the house, staring at us, staring at the apartment, staring at the building. It was a duplex split from top to bottom. I lived on top. There was a bottom apartment. But he would just stare at, I don't know if he was necessarily staring at us or if it was just, maybe he was looking at something else. Maybe he was looking beyond the building and something back in the woods. I don't know. But it was creepy. And other people thought so too when they saw it. And if he wasn't in my house staring at the house, he would be directly across the street on his porch. He had a front porch, and he would sit in a chair and just stare at my house. Stare at my house. I would go to work, he'd be staring at me. I'd come home, he'd be staring at me. I'd wave to him. He might give me like one of these weird, like kind of being nice waves back, but not like, I never talked to the guy or nothing. Never introduced myself. It was just too, I didn't live there very long. I lived there, I think 1 year I think it was 1 year. I signed a 1 year lease and I had to live up to it, so I waited until that lease was over and I moved out. I might have stayed 1 month past that, but I don't think I did. No, I didn't. It was 1 year exactly. It was a nice place, really nice place. I had no complaints except for that guy. But it was weird. It didn't really affect me all that much because the basement was a split level duplex, but there was a hallway when you walked into my side. The door was on the first floor and there was a staircase going up to the duplex, but it was carpeted and it was like being in a house. And there was a hallway. And you went down this hallway and there was another flight of stairs going down to a basement, and it was a large basement. It was a basement the whole size of the building, split in half with a concrete wall, splitting the two each half of the duplex had its own half of a basement. And it was a nice basement. It was a concrete floor and everything, but it was extremely clean and extremely dry, and it was very safe. And so I had throw rugs all over the place, couches, and it was basically a lounge down there. And so we had coffee tables, couches, TVs. I had a decent sized living room, 2 bedrooms. I had a separate room for an office and a nice big kitchen on the top floor of the duplex. But I spent a lot of time down in that basement because in the summer it was cool. Didn't have to run the AC as much. That basement was nice and cool all summer long. People would come over to hang out. We'd go straight to the basement and hang out. And that was where, I didn't spend all my time down there, but I was down there a lot. And so, especially down in the basement, you'd never know that the old man's standing outside staring at the building. But it just, every time I come and go, every single time I get in my car to go somewhere, there's the old man staring at my house. Come home, there's the old man staring at my house. Be sitting in the living room. Oh, there's the old man standing right in front of the house, staring at the house. And it never end. It would never end. In the winter, dude would be sitting on the porch and all bundled up, staring at the house. I don't get it, but the dude was just constantly staring at the house. I don't know why. I feel like other people in the neighborhood all owned their homes, and this was the only duplex in the whole area, and it might have been the only house that was being rented instead of owned by somebody. And maybe this guy just felt like he had to be the neighborhood watch because people were coming and going and renters would only come and stay for a year and then leave, and so he never knew who his neighbor was there. But it was just strange. It was very, very strange, and this place has that same vibe. Like, I come home from wherever I am, and I'm always like, please don't be on the back, please don't be out back, please don't be out back. And I get back there, and I'm like, thank God the back patio is empty. I can just walk to the tiny house, go inside, shut the door, and be away from it. And then I leave to go somewhere, I'm always like, please don't be outside, please don't be outside, please don't be outside. It's hit or miss, but there are so many times where all I want to do is take the trash out or whatever, and I've got to go through this gauntlet of people who want to talk to me and stare at me and want to know my business and what I'm up to and all this and that. And like I said, nobody's rude, and no, it's just I'm sick of living here, and it's just another aspect of living here aside from 50 other things that are pissing me off. At first, it didn't bother me at all, to tell you the truth. The fact that I would have to walk past these people and have conversations and stuff, I didn't mind it at all. It wasn't until April 3rd, when the landlord flipped this place upside down on me. Now all of these little things are digging in, and they're all adding up. Now, as of today, I'm supposed to be signing a paper and, getting some things squared away, so this is the end of it for me. But I still got to be here a couple more weeks, and it's just another thing, because I just opened the door. I didn't hop on my bike yet, but I am about to. I got to get out of here and get these things done. First thing I noticed was all these people sitting out on the back patio, and I'm like, fuck. That means when I get on my bicycle, I'm gonna have to walk past them and have a conversation, and maybe not have a conversation because I'm in a hurry and I'm gonna look like I'm in a hurry to go somewhere. But it's like, where you going? What you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. None of your fucking business. And, it's just, like I said, nobody's being a jerk. Nobody's like, it's not like that at all. Everybody, they're friendly. It's just another example of how when something like this happens, all these little things start to dig into your side and make the situation worse, and this is one of them. Think about it in terms of like what if you moved into an apartment building and there was a neighbor a couple doors down, and it was a woman and you're a guy. Maybe you got together and you had a few good times or whatever, but then for whatever reason it just didn't work out. Things got weird, whatever, you went your separate ways, but every time you come and go, you end up running into this person all the time. How long would it take before you get sick of that? Especially if things were weird between you and that person. It's one of those kind of things. It's just, I just want to come and go and be left the fuck alone and not have to look, I just want to go where I got to go and come back. And I just don't want to mingle. I'm not in that frame of mind right now. So, anyway, it's time to go. I really do got to get myself moving. Should have been gone 5 minutes ago, but it's Sunday, and it's like I don't want to do it. I should have pushed it to Tuesday, but I want to get it done. So it's, get it done today. The peace of mind that comes with this will be better, because Tuesday's going to come around and I'm not going to want to do it anyway. So do it. You know what I mean? It's one of these things that I have to do, and I'm going to do it. And when I come home, I'm going to be happy that I got it done. So I'll peace out until I talk to you later. It's done, baby. It's all done. Interesting day. I think it's probably 90, 95 degrees outside. I believe the humidity is up. I'm not going to turn on my app and stop the video recording. Just to check let me get comfortable here. I should just use a tripod, but anyway. I went and put the money down. It's done. I'm moving on the 30th or the 31st. The landlord doesn't care what day. A little bit hectic. I decided to go to the grocery store and get money orders so that there wouldn't be any hesitation. I didn't want to give them cash, but I didn't want to, turn the guy off by writing him a check. And so I go to pay. I take out a money order for $1,000 and I go to pay for it with my bank's debit card and it declines. And I'm like, what the fuck? I have way more than that. Not way more, but I have more than that in the account. And I had enough to pay for the entire deposit in the account. And you can only take a money order out for up to $1,000. So I was going to have to split it in 2 payments. And I was going to take money out of a different account for the second payment. That way I have more money left in my main checking account. The account that I get my direct deposits from the bakery and my money for my freelance work goes into. I have another checking account where all the other stuff that I have coming in goes. All of, my 25K a year run rate right now. But I had the money to cover this thing. But I really didn't panic because this bank is notorious for declining payments with this card. This bank fucking sucks. Like, I have never had a bank that I've hated more than this bank. I was going to change banks after I moved here, but then when things went haywire, I decided to just stay put, wait until I move, and then figure out what bank I want to go to next. The one bank I've never had a problem with. The first bank that my one account I've never had a problem with, but I only started to see branches show up recently for that bank. So I can actually use that bank locally if I want to, and maybe just switch to that bank. But I like having money in 2 different banks. Because you never know what's going to happen. The one day I went to make a deposit at this bank, the primary bank that I hate, and they didn't have an internet connection, and they're like, well, we can't do any transactions from the teller. But I was able to deposit it at the ATM, and it went through just fine. So I did a test transaction. I took my card to a gas station, and I picked up a couple of iced teas and used my card to pay it. Went right through, so my card's not locked. But there's been times where I'll buy something on Amazon and the transaction will get declined by my bank. And then I'll call the bank and I'll be like, what the fuck? And they'll be like, oh, sorry, we thought it was fraud. Well, unfraud it. So I'm going to call the bank on Monday and ask why the transaction didn't go through. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was either because I tried to use it as a PIN number debit transaction instead of running it as credit, because you get the 2 options. There might be a limit that I breached there, but that's how I always do it when I pay rent. Here I always get a money order and it goes right through. So I don't know. But I was a little bit perplexed. Well, then I called the landlord for the new place and I said, look, I can go take cash out tomorrow, but I said I could write you a personal check. And he goes, yeah, that's fine. And I'm like, well, shit. If I would have known that, I wouldn't have even bothered to go to the store and go through that hassle. So I wrote him a check. And he was fine with it. Especially because there's 2 weeks left in the month. So if he goes and puts that in the bank tomorrow, it'll be a day or 2. It'll come out of my account. And then I shouldn't have to worry about it anymore. And I'll just be able to go about my merry way. But it's done. I went and I took some pictures of the place. I tested my T-Mobile connection speed. It was really high. On my phone, I took the phone with me, which is also on T-Mobile, and I ran a speed test, and it was super fast, way faster than I get on the same phone here. So I assume that my Wi-Fi connection, the T-Mobile hotspot that I use for the home internet, I assume it will work better there than it does here, and it'll get me started. And the landlord has no problem with me calling AT&T or Comcast to have real internet installed. I may have to get a permission slip. Like, he might have to, I might have to write something out and have him sign it. Sometimes they ask for that. Sometimes they don't give a shit. They'll tell you on the phone that you have to have it when the installer comes. But the installer... One time I had the installer say that he needed it or he was going to turn around and leave and not install anything. But other times they just show up, install it, and go, and they don't give a fuck or ask about it. So I'm not... So then I was wondering, okay, what do I do about the electricity? Because I'm going to have to call and get the electric put in my name. And he told me that, no, he said what they do is they have 3 different units sharing electricity, unfortunately. And so he'll split the bill between the different tenants. There's like, I guess, 3 different people that share the same electric bill. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how much he's going to charge me for a month. If it's under $100 for a month's use, I'll be like, all right. But it's gonna, that's kind of like, that's a little dicey to do that. I'm not going to worry about it because there's so many other things to worry about. On the plus side, I'm going to have to wait and see on that. On the plus side, I don't have to call the electric company and have an electric come. I don't have to have that hooked up. I don't have to worry about paying a deposit. I don't have to worry about any hassles there. So I'm good to go on day one. I can move. I don't have to do anything other than get a moving truck or van. I'm not getting a box truck. That would be ridiculous, but one of those U-Haul vans would do the trick. I'd be able to fit everything I have in here in one of those vans without any doubt. Everything almost fit in a minivan. So a U-Haul van, they're bigger. The cargo van, they're taller, wider, longer. I won't have any problem. I'll probably have room to spare. So that was nice to get that out of the way. It was, like I said, it was a little bit of a hassle, that whole thing with the bank card not going through. But at the same time, I'm like, it doesn't surprise me that bank has been a pain in my ass. This is not the first time that bank has given me an issue with something. So I'm quitting that bank. I just got to figure out what bank I'm going to, open a new account, deposit some money into it, set up my direct deposit from work to go there, and then get through whatever probation period that they put on new accounts where if you deposit a check, you've got, like this bank that I have right now, I deposited 3 checks to start the account, and they put a hold on the checks for 21 days. 21 days they wouldn't let me have the money from those deposits. And I didn't need the money, so I didn't care, but I've never had a bank do that. 10 days? Okay. 10 days for a new account holder is the standard. 21 days they made me wait. Not $1 was available from that deposit for 21 days, and they held it to 21 days. They did not release those funds for 21 days. And then after the probationary period, now whenever I deposit a check, it's fully available the very next day. If I deposit a check at 3 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, the next morning, it's available in the morning in full. I think there's a limit in terms of the maximum amount that they'll make available, but it's high. And I haven't reached that. Like high as in like above $10,000 or something like that, they might not make available the next day. And they said something like 5 days. I don't know. They just changed their policy, but it's like, it's not something I got to worry about. So I have no idea. But this bank just sucks. This bank sucks. I really want to get into a different bank and close that account. But I just have to wait until I move and I'll figure out what banks are around. I'd like to get a bank. Distance, like location, is kind of important to me because I'd like to have a bank that I can go to quickly if I need to in person, which is not very often, but every now and then I do, especially these days, I have to go in person for one thing or another. And it's nice to be able to go in a relative ease. So whatever bank is close to where I move to is probably where I'll look at first. But I'll have time to figure it out. Proximity to my friend's house, that's why I went to the bank where I'm at now. It had everything to do with proximity. The bank was around the corner from it was the closest bank to his house. And so I'm like, I don't know, go there. I didn't know. I didn't have any idea what bank was good and what wasn't. Well, this one sucks. So off to the next one. It's not a big deal. It's just a matter of, like, everything is a pain in the ass with this bank. From the branch office is always a pain in the ass. The card gets declined. You could buy something for $5. You never know when the card is going to get declined. Even if you could buy something for $10 and you could have $3,000 in the account and they'll decline it. Or sometimes I'll get a text message saying, is this a legitimate transaction, yes or no? And the transaction won't go through unless you say yes. So you have to watch your text messages. And, but this one I didn't get a text message for. The online banking is absolutely horrible. You can get locked out so easy. The login process is 10 times more ridiculous than any other bank or financial institution I've ever seen. Like, it's so bad. It's so bad that my stomach gets in knots whenever I try to log into this bank account online just to see my online banking statement. Because there's a 50% chance I'm not going to be able to log in. Any other bank, it's easy. This bank is like, literally everything this bank does is terrible. I mean, there's just, every time I turn around, there's another reason to hate this bank. And I have never bounced a check. I've never overdrafted my account. I've never done anything to be a bad customer or to deserve, like, it's just how they are. It's just a bad bank. It's straight up just a terrible bank. But whatever. I mean, I didn't know, so I'm not like beating myself up over it. It's just, it's like choosing a cell phone company. Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, they all fucking suck, so which one do you want? Choose one of the shitty ones. All three of them suck, so you're gonna end up with a shitty one. Some iced tea at least. So that was nice. I mean, I had some iced tea, some raspberry iced tea to come home to. I'm going to cold brew some tea maybe today. Well, no, I'm not cold brewing anything tomorrow, maybe, or Tuesday. I got a pretty good supply of coffee. I might re-up. I've got some jars and some filtered jars. I might re-up on the coffee and do a couple of, like, a gallon of tea. Black tea. But I've got some sugar in the raw, and I've got some squeeze bottles. I can make some simple syrup and store that in some squeeze bottles, keep that in the fridge. So I got, my sugar and tea covered, and that'll be good for a bit. Um, I got the dishes done. I think it was Tuesday. I got the tiny house here straightened up pretty good. There's a little bit of cleaning that needs to be done, but it's like I think it was Tuesday, maybe at Wednesday afternoon. I got everything done: laundry, dishes, all the things that were stacked up. And I've been making sure that every night I go to bed this week, I'm keeping it clean. So I got behind on all of that stuff, and it started to drive me crazy. And so that's what it is. Um, but keeping that stuff clean, keeping that stuff tidy, that's gonna be the best thing to do. That helps in so many ways. Keep my sanity in check. But yeah, today I went and looked at the new place, went inside. It's not as big as I remembered it, but it's big. It's got good air conditioning. It's a mini split, so you can control the temperature. It's bigger. It's way bigger than this place, but not huge. It's a shotgun style house. The front room is a big kitchen area, plus whatever else you want to make it. Nice stove. Nice full size stove. Flat top glass stove. It's all electric. There's no gas, unfortunately. But it's a flat top stove. Flat top glass stove with an oven. There's going to be a full size fridge. It's not in there yet, but he has it. He's putting in a full size water heater before I move in. Now, this could be another situation where before I move in turns into after I move in. I hope not. But I'll keep on him. I'll just be polite and I'll be like, hey, did you get a chance to put the water heater in? And, but there is a water heater there and it works. So he's just going to put a bigger one in. And I saw it. It's actually there. It's a full-size tank. It's probably 30 gallons or whatever. Same size as the one here. Yeah, but the difference is I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes. It was sitting there outside the unit, waiting to be put in. It needs a little bit of cleaning. It's got construction dust. It's I don't know the whole story of it, but it's been completely, I don't know what it was before, but it's completely been remodeled and gutted and rebuilt. And it's not bad. It's got the front room with the kitchen, big open area. Then there's an open doorway with another room, I guess you could call it. And then there's another bathroom. And there are doors. I took lots of pictures for my own reference so I can remember what's in it. But there are doors between the rooms to some extent. I think the bathroom has a door the bathroom has a door you can close, so it's an actual bathroom. It's got a sink. Tub is nice. The tub needs to be cleaned out, but it's a soaking tub. It's like got a backrest. Like it's a deep tub. That's one of the perks of this place. It's got a nice deep bathtub. I could fill that thing up and just chill, like soak in a bathtub. When I come back from a bike ride or 40-mile bike ride and working at the bakery all day, I can light up some candles and sit in that bathtub and just soak my weary bones and just chill. Throw on a movie or something or listen to some tunes, whatever. Just sit there and watch a movie or something. I'll have to figure out now. not having to pay an account, not having to pay an electric bill to move in, a deposit. That's really nice because that leaves me with enough money to figure out what I want to do with. I'm thinking I'm going to get one of those small washing machine things. And either the small washing machine thing and a small compact dryer, and either put them in the bathroom or whatever at this point. But I gotta look at the pictures of the place and see how it all kind of works. But there should be room at least to store those things, and there's definitely room to there's room to put the stuff. But there's the kitchen area room, and then there's a middle room. It's like a bedroom, I guess you could call it. And then there's a bathroom at the end. It's a shotgun style room. And it's long, and it's bigger than this place by a lot. I don't know what else there is to say. It's not ideal. It's not my favorite out of the places I looked at, but it works. And I'll be reaching out to the probation guy tomorrow. Let him know I'm going to change my address. I'm not even worried about what's going to happen here with the landlord here. I'm happy to be done with this. Now, he has another rental unit that's like the same style house. They're right next to each other, and and this other one has a little porch on it, and it looks a little bit nicer from the outside, especially with the little porch. And he said that that's going to be available at the end of the month, the end of next month, or something like that. And he said he'd only charge $50 more for it. So I said, can you show it to me now? And he said, no, because there's somebody living there, but whoever's living there is moving out at the end of the month or something, or end of next month. I didn't really get, I don't remember, everything blurs together. But he said that he wanted to do some cleanup and remodeling and just like preparing the place to be rented again. So they're literally right next door to each other. So he said if I was interested, I could take over that one if I want. And so I might even just hold off on my internet swap, like calling Comcast or AT&T or whatever. If T-Mobile works out to be a decent connection there to where I don't need to move, or I don't need to get a hard wire, maybe when the tenant on that other little house moves out, I could swap and take that one instead. And it wouldn't really be a big deal to just carry my stuff over because it's literally right there. There's the heaviest thing I have is my antique desk, and I can carry that on my own. It's just a little bit awkward and difficult, and I've got to like be careful with it because it's an antique and it's heavy duty, and when you take the drawers out of it, it's doable. It's not ridiculously heavy, but it's awkward and big enough that carrying it by yourself, you just don't want to drop it. You don't want to damage it. You don't want to damage the property with it as well. So either way, everything, the floors are nice. It just needs a cleanup. It just needs to be, there's some dust, like construction dust. Nobody's been living in it since they remodeled it. And, but yeah, the bathtub is a big deal. The bathtub's really nice. Like, it's dirty right now, but when it's cleaned up, it's going to be nice. Like, that's a nice soaking, sit and chill bathtub. Like, you can sit and soak in that thing. It's got like a recliner seat. Like, it's a pretty nice tub for what it is. I'm looking forward to that. Because I mean, right now, the way I feel, my legs, my whole body is aching just from all the cycling and all of that. Just being able to soak in a hot tub every, couple times a week, maybe even on like a regular basis, just that's a big deal, man. That does a lot. That's therapeutic right there. I could get a real bed for this place instead of sleeping on this cot. I might even do that as one of the first things, just get a real bed and put this cot away. I don't know. I mean, I got to play it one day at a time and see. But I think that the main room, the bicycles, that's going to be kind of weird. Like, where am I going to put them? It's definitely a little more crowded and cramped than I originally thought in terms of the size of the place. It's more open than this place, and the ceilings are higher, generally speaking. But I took photographs this time, so I can generally measure things out. I didn't take a tape measure, but I know how wide a door is. I know how wide, I have enough things in the photograph that I know how wide a stove is. I know how wide a door is, so I can actually use those measurements to measure out. I can generally measure out the entire room just by knowing how big known things are and get a pretty good idea of how wide and whatnot the place is. But it's better. It's good and bad. I should be signing a 1-year lease. He's got the money. I'm supposed to get a lease in the mail or in the email today or tomorrow. Sign that. He it should all be good. It should be all good by the time I get I should be, yeah. I'm tired, man. This has been a long ride. But I mean, you can see it in my scatterbrained way I'm talking today. It's just, wow, it's too much. The backdrop for the videos is going to be a lot better. I could just set up a desk. I can set things up so that what you see behind me is a plain wall, or just, it's not going to be all crazy looking like this place is with the goofy shit in the background. It's going to feel like an actual home more than this does. A little bit bittersweet that I couldn't get the apartment that I really liked, but the money I would have had to come up with to move into that place was significantly more. About $1,000 more up front. So it would have been more of a mad scramble to get it done. This one, financially, it's better because it leaves me with some money in the bank to do a couple of things to help me move in and get settled in and comfortable. And I don't have to, the move should be easy and quick, distance-wise. Same neighborhood. Places are like 3 miles apart. The U-Haul place, I mean, literally, like, it might be, if I don't take the U-Haul van and go do things with it, it's probably like 10 miles. It's going to be 10 miles with a moving van. And then if I decide to go to Target or buy a couple of things, like buy some cheap furniture, go to Goodwill, see what Goodwill has. Does Goodwill have some furniture or whatever? Just whatever. Whatever. If Goodwill has, what if there's something I can do to make the place a little more comfortable when I move in? I could possibly do it with a U-Haul van. And it still wouldn't cost that much for the mileage, because you'd be looking at tacking on maybe 10 more miles. Let's have to see what happens. It should be a pretty easy thing to get done. I can get in and out. I'm exhausted from this. I'm a little stressed. I'm a lot less stressed than I was this morning, though, especially now that I don't have to deal with calling an electric company. It's just that the last time I had a situation like this, where I lived in a duplex. I was just talking about the duplex with the old man that would stand out front. The electric bills were split, as they should be. But the water and sewage bill was combined. It wasn't split. And so the landlord would just tell us what to pay. And she would split it in half, more or less. And we had a crazy tenant, but I had a crazy tenant living in the downstairs apartment. Psychotic nut job. 2. But this guy was a psychotic nut job. He went crazy. I got to know him a little bit. But he had a wife and they got divorced. And he went crazy after she left him. And the landlord was a bit nuts too. And so they started having a beef. And she came over one time and to let herself into the apartment, but he had rigged a BB gun. He pointed a BB gun at the door and had a fucking Bugs Bunny cartoon. I shit you not. He had a piece of string wrapped around the doorknob and up and over some hooks and everything, and so that when she would open the door to the apartment, she'd get shot with a pellet gun. And she got shot with a BB gun. When she tried to come into the apartment, I swear to God, it was just like right out of something Wile E. Coyote would do trying to catch the fucking Roadrunner. I'm not kidding. Dude was fucking nuts. But one of the things that this guy did to drive her crazy was he turned on all the water in the downstairs apartment and just let it run for a whole month. Just let the water run for a month. She kicked him out. And so while she was trying to get rid of him, he literally turned on the water faucets in the bathtub and shit and just let the water run for an entire month. So the water bill was astronomical. And she told me what the water bill was for the month. And I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind if you think I'm paying half of that. And she goes, no, I don't expect you to pay. She's like, you just pay me what you paid last month. She's like, I am going to have a plumber come and split this place so that each apartment has its own water bill from now on. She's like, we're doing that before the end of the month, whatever. She went and did it. Whatever she said she was going to do, she did. And she would fix things, and if something broke, she fixed it right away. She was good at that. She didn't mess around. She would pay. She got ripped off all the time by contractors. There was a leaky knob on the shower, and I told her about it, and she sent a contractor over. Contractor charged $2,000 to replace the knobs on the shower, and she lost her fucking mind over that. But it was the contractor she called. If you know anything about Pittsburgh, this contractor called Galeese, they're the worst fucking people to call that you could possibly call. when you need something done, they're going to rip you off. They charged $2,000 to replace 2 knobs on a shower. That was funny. Anyway, she got ripped off all the time by contractors. But she was fixed. She fixed things, and she was quick. She didn't mess around. And mean old lady, but she liked me a lot. She was always super nice to me, but she was a mean, wicked bitch. I'll tell you that. You did not want to cross her. Mean son of a bitch. She just happened to be nice to me once she got to know me for about a month. After the first month I was there, she was like, "You're like the best tenant I've had in so long." You know, she never had a problem with her. But I had to split the water bill with another tenant. And generally speaking, it wasn't bad. But when she decided to put... when it was... the situation was the tenant downstairs decided to just run the water for an entire month. And when she got the bill, she lost her fucking mind. But she didn't make me pay she knew what happened. So, but that's the situation you run into if you're splitting a bill like that. And that's kind of a shady area when it comes to landlording. I'm not gonna, as long as the guy's reasonable and he doesn't come and hit me with a ridiculous electric bill, we're cool. I'm not gonna worry about it. Especially if I can see the bill. But, when you're splitting a bill 3 ways with different tenants, you never really know what to expect there. So that kind of makes me go, I don't know. But everything you do, every place you move into is going to have this unknown factor. So for now, I'm just going to let it ride. If things don't work out, I'll have a better springboard to jump from this time. I definitely got some more emails and stuff to do. I'm definitely way more relaxed right now than I was earlier today. In spite of the whole wondering what the hell that shit was about with the bank. But I'm really not, just because that bank has had... I every time I swipe that card, I'm like, here we go. Is it going to go through? I always have that, moment of pause. I would never trust going on a long trip and using that card to pay for things along the trip. I would have to make sure I took out enough cash to get myself home. And I would also have to have money in my other checking account to feel even remotely comfortable traveling somewhere, just because of that reason alone. Everything I go to do with this bank is nothing but a hassle. It sucks all the way around. So hopefully I can get a new bank account after I move and just ditch this bank, because I'm tired of it. And even my best friend has even he was like, wow, that bank's... because I tell him about the things that go on at this bank, and he's like, man, that bank's fucking terrible. Thanks for letting me know not to ever go there. All I'm saying is I have another checking account with a debit card. I've literally never had a problem with it, ever. I've had to call them on the phone one time. I've had that account for years, and I've literally had to call them on the phone one time in all the years that I've had that account. And it was for a legitimate reason, and it wasn't the bank. It wasn't anything the bank did. It was something I had to take care of. had to do with me getting out of prison and not having had access to the account. And I could get in online, but I couldn't. I didn't have. I had to wait until I got my driver's license in the mail, take a photo of it, and send it to them, and like go through this whole process of getting full access to my account. And that's all it was. But it was a hassle, and it took a while to do. But it was able to be resolved over the phone. So, at the end of the day, it wasn't a huge deal. But that's the only time I've ever had to call them or deal with them in person in any way, shape, or form. This other fucking bank, oh my God. It's like everything they do, they screw up. I'm surprised they can do the math to keep a bank balance, a ledger at this point. But I don't know. I'm good. I'm gonna be moving in a couple of weeks. I'm a little bit nervous about everything. But then I was thinking today when I was riding my bike to go to the grocery store, I said, God, every time I get nervous and get all worked up about things, it's just more evidence that I don't trust you. It's, look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father still feeds them. He certainly cares more about you than the birds. So he's going to take care of you. And I don't know. Every time I get worried about something, it's a evidence that I just don't trust him. And honestly, that hassle at the grocery store ended up working out in my favor because I was able to just write a check. I would have rather just done it at the grocery store and taken money out of two different accounts and spread it out a little more to pay this guy, and then giving him a money order so it's legitimate. The money's out of my account. It's done right there. It's a done deal. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. And I got another thing going on that I have to, basically I'm going to go chill for a bit. And then I'm going to sit down and put together some emails that need to go out. I got a whole bunch of people I need to talk to. Some thank you messages and just some things that need to be, sent out. And I don't know when this video is actually going to go live because I'm still delaying things based on the fact that I put out a video today that was recorded yesterday, the 1-year anniversary of this YouTube channel, but I really didn't get into the things like the move and I don't want to tell anything specific. I don't want this landlord, if he does watch my videos, which I don't think he does, but if he does, I don't want him watching this and knowing exactly what my plan is to the minute that day. If he finds out 2 weeks later about something I did 2 weeks ago, no big deal because that shit's done. So the fact that I'm talking about I've got a date to move, but this video today, it's the 18th. So by the time I post what I'm talking about today, it's going to be the end of the month. And when I move into the new place, I'll put a video up that day saying, hey, I moved. This is what happened. I'm going to get into it a little bit more. But, and I'll tell the whole story of how this all went down and some of the things that are missing. And I'll probably prepare a little bit of bullet point notes so that I can kind of have a list of here's all the things I want to share about what happened, and anything that got left out I'll put in. But because it's been a wild ride. It's been wilder than I've been able to talk about. I've shared some things, but there are some things I've left out. The people at the bakery are like, holy shit, when they hear all of it. But, a lot of you can, if you're smart, if you watch this and you hear me talk, you can pretty much figure out most of what I'm talking about without me having to say. But, there's a couple things. There's definitely some things that are missing. And so I'm going to put out one video that just lays it all out and say, this is what happened, beginning to end. But it's at that point, it's going to be beating a dead horse. Why live in the past? Move on. It's a quieter street, has traffic, but it's not a ridiculous amount of traffic like the street I live on right now. The house is better insulated. It's set further back from the road enough. Now, I don't know how loud it's going to be until I'm there. There's more windows. The windows don't have curtains on them right now. I might, I'll probably put curtains on a few, and there might be some that I don't. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do about that. The southern side of the house doesn't have any windows, but all the other sides have windows. And I think that's kind of nice in terms of air conditioning, because no sun is going to go directly through the windows during the day. And it's a nice enough place that I might order some of my photography prints framed, or metal prints, or whatever's economical, and start hanging stuff up on the walls, maybe some pictures of my kids and pictures that make me happy to look at, and just decorate. Like, this is the kind of place I can put a little bit of effort into making it nice. I can put plants in there. I can put plants on the outside of the place to make it look better. I can get a few nice potted plants, like maybe a big old cactus or something to put out front. Just some things out front to help make it a little bit more homely. I don't know. Like, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to do the best I can with it. I feel like it's a better place than this, where I am right now. And I can make it feel more like a home. But it's probably going to be flexible enough. I'll look at the lease. That's another thing. I didn't get to read the lease before making the payment, which that's a downer. But I could probably, if something in that lease is like, holy shit, I can, I'll figure out what to do after the fact. But, I mean, I could stop payment on the check if it comes down to that. But, I'm not gonna... It was very, very difficult to get to this point today. And to get to look at 5 different places, considering the fact that I'm stuck with a bicycle to do it all. And, this guy didn't give me any hassles. Sign and drive. There's some things I don't like. Generally speaking, there's some things that kind of, but it's a better place than where I am. It has a bathroom with its own sink and a bathtub. It has a kitchen with a sink, counter space, some cupboards. There's room to do more. I'll be able to set up a nice workspace there in one way or another. I'm just gonna, it's just gonna be like one day at a time at this place. I don't know exactly how it's gonna go. There's no closets, so everything has to be stored creatively. Boxes, totes, but it's got to look nice. But I don't know. I'll make it work. I'm going to let y'all go. That was the update. That was the update for looking at a place today, signing and getting it ready. So this nightmare, this tiny house nightmare is about to come to an end. I don't know if I'm walking into another nightmare. All I know is I'm walking into a place that on the surface is better than this. I didn't get a bad vibe off of the owner. I don't have a bad vibe off of the owner. I hope he does what he says he's going to do in terms of getting the hot water tank switched and the fridge and that kind of, at least have the fridge in there when I come in. I gave him the down payment. I mean, any money he already had. He said he already has the fridge, and I saw the hot water heater. It was there. So we'll just see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. It's an upgrade. It definitely is an upgrade. And if I get a car, there's an auto garage like right down the street, like walking, like right down the street. Like if my car broke down at home, I could push it to the auto garage. Probably. If now I don't know, they could be a bunch of con artists for all I know, but if they are actually a good, reputable, honest garage and I need car repairs, they're right there. Right there. Like, I don't know, 800 feet, 1,000 feet down the road, not even a quarter mile down the road. So that could come in handy, of having a place where I could drop off the car to get worked on and walk to pick it up in the event that I need to do that. I did check out the Walmart grocery store because I saw out of the corner of my eye and there's a little gas station there, and I'm like, where's the grocery store? And I'm like, I thought I saw pictures of it online, but I couldn't see it from the intersection as I was riding out there, and I'm like, I need to go check this out. And so on my way home, I took a detour and I went over to where it was. I didn't go in it. I just went into the parking lot. It's a legit grocery store. Is it as big as like H-E-B or one of these bigger grocery stores? I don't think so. But it's definitely a legit size grocery store. They're gonna have at least everything that Target has, if not more. And since it's a legitimate grocery store and not like a grocery store inside of Target, it's more geared towards having groceries. I'm assuming that there's some things I can get there that I can't get at Target. Either way, it's walking distance. It's about a mile away. It's the same distance I currently walk to go to Target. It's just, it's the same distance. But the walk is actually, like, it's not as much of a crazy, shitty walk. It's not great, but it's not far. So there's a legit grocery store plus a CVS, a big CVS right there. So there's two legit stores that if I need something and I need to walk to get it or whatever, there's options for that. And then there was some other stuff down there. I don't know what. There's like freaking McDonald's and crap like that. Then there was, I don't know where the laundromat is, but it doesn't seem to be too far away from there. It's probably, I don't know. That the laundromat is the one thing I'm kind of like, I don't know. But if I can get one of those portable washing machines that are like $200, and a portable dryer that's $200 on Amazon delivered to the front door, then I'm all set. I will do that. And, I've seen, like I said, I've seen the washing machines used. My clothes were being washed in one of those at one point. They come out fine. It's a little bit of work because you can only put so many things in those. They're small. So and they have a separate, you wash them on one side and you spin dry them on the other. And so, and you can't spin dry as many things as you can wash. And so you're going to be you're going to have to go and do multiple loads to get your laundry done. But when I look at how much laundry I usually go through in a week, in 1 week, I typically fill half of a regular size washing machine. When I was going to the bakery every day, I would fill an entire load of a regular size washing machine. It would be a large, like to the top load, not overfilled, but a full load. But right now, the level of laundry I'm at right now is about half of a regular washing machine worth in the span of a week. So 2 weeks, I can do a full load of laundry in a washing machine, but still fit it all in a machine in one load and not be overflowing and overfilling a washer. So one of those units, I might have to do 4 loads. But I'm home. So, and it's gonna be like one room away. I'll be working in one room. Oh, let me take a break and go throw some of the clothes in the spin dryer and throw them in the dryer. I'm gonna have to make trips back and forth and just do it throughout the day. And at the end of the day, I'm done for the week. So it shouldn't be. That's better than going to the laundromat. And it's going to be my washer and my dryer that if I move into another place that's lacking a washer and dryer, I at least have that. And if I find a place that has real hookups or comes with a washer and dryer for my next move, then I can sell the stuff and make some of the money back. If I had a vehicle, if I had a car or a truck or like something like a old Jeep Cherokee or something like that, I could buy these things on Craigslist or Facebook for about $100 each, $75. For $150, I could get a washer and a dryer. In fact, if I needed to get a full-size washer and a full-size dryer, it's almost certain that I could get them for free on Craigslist. They may not work great. There may be something wrong with them, but I've picked up appliances for free on Craigslist before. So they're always available. Or $100 or less. I mean, you can find washers and dryers all day long on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. You just have to look and see what's out there. Sometimes people like me, you're moving, you just want to get rid of something. I bought a dishwasher once. I lived in this house. I was having problems keeping up with the dishes. I wanted a dishwasher, but I had to get one of those ones on wheels. And I got a full-size dishwasher, and it came with one of those things, and you had to hook it up to a sink. And the way that this kitchen that I had was weird. The sink was in a separate little alcove room off to the side of the kitchen. And so it was kind of like, it was a pain in the ass, but it worked. Well, I bought a dishwasher on Craigslist, and the people delivered it that I bought it from, brought it in on a dolly, wheeled it right into my kitchen, dropped it off for me, gave me everything I needed to hook it up to my sink, and then they dropped a thing of Electrosol tablets, which now it's called Finish. But they gave me dishwashing detergent. They gave me everything I needed to do to wash dishes right then and there. I didn't have to go to the store. They dropped it all off. And I think I paid $300 for this thing, and it was a $500 dishwasher. It was in mint condition. It had like a dent, like a little scratch on the front door. And the mark that was on the front door was clearly listed in the pictures. So I already knew, but it was great. And I had this thing for probably 3 to 4 years. Never had a problem with it once. It always worked great. It was like a godsend. I would wheel it into the kitchen, not every single day, but when I lived there by myself or just me and my daughter, we would fill this thing. Once it would get to a certain, it would get full, and then we'd have to wheel it into the kitchen and run it. It wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't the easiest thing to do, but it was better than washing dishes. I had this thing for like 4 years. When I sold it, this is the funniest part. I sold it for $350. I think I sold it for $350. And the people that I paid $300 for it, and I sold it for $350. When the people bought it, and I had lots of people hit me up for this thing, so the price was right. I had no problem selling it for $350. Nobody haggled me. The people that bought it, they came. 3 people came. They had a dolly and everything in a pickup truck. They came and took it from my kitchen, wheeled it out. I gave them everything that they needed to hook it up to their sink and get going right off the bat. I gave them all the dishwashing detergent that I had, same as it was when it was handed to me. But I basically got all my money back and made $50 on top of the fact. So I basically had I lended out some money to have a dishwasher to the world. I lent money to the world. I gave the world a $300 loan so that I could have a dishwasher, and then I got my deposit back from the world when I got rid of the dishwasher, and I got plus $50 interest. And this was just a handful of money. I sold all my DJ equipment. I sold some computer equipment. I sold a whole bunch of heavy stuff that I didn't want to move. I sold all my bicycle collection. I was going to sell the bicycles one by one. A guy came over to buy 2 or 3 bikes that I had listed. And when I took him to the basement, he saw all the bicycles and he started to drool. And he goes, "What if I made you an offer for all of these bikes?" He's like, "Which ones are for sale and which ones are you keeping?" And I pulled out my personal bikes and I said, "These ones aren't for sale." I said, "All the rest of this, make me an offer." And he offered me now I could have made a lot more money selling them piecemeal. But this guy was willing to clear my inventory and put money in my pocket, walk out the door like right then and there. He had a truck. And he had to make more than one trip, but he cleared me out. He cleared out my whole base. I didn't have to worry about what to do with these bikes. And boom, I had hundreds of dollars in my pocket from that. I don't remember what it was per bicycle, but I at least broke even on whatever the bicycles cost me, because they were all bought at thrift stores, yard sales, things like that. They were always bought cheaply with the intent of flipping. And some of them I had flipped. I had some old Schwinn's. I bought one Schwinn at a thrift store for $14. No, for like one Schwinn I bought for $14. And it was like a Schwinn Varsity 10-speed. And it had a Brooks leather saddle on it. I sold the saddle for $75. The seat. I sold just the seat for $75. And I was planning on selling the rest of the bike for parts, because I would have got more money for the individual parts and then sold the frame. But then I couldn't bring myself to because it was a collector's bike, it was a vintage Schwinn, and those are sought after. And I couldn't bring myself to bastardize this bike anymore. So I was going to try and put a reasonable seat on it that wasn't expensive but would match the level of seat that bike would have come with. But this guy just took it as one of the things. I had a kid's bike, a Schwinn children's bike, girls Schwinn bike from like 1964. I paid $8 for it, sold it for $160 because it was a collector's item. Sold it on eBay, $160. I believe it was a local sale, and I didn't even have to ship it, which that was freaking awesome. Somebody came and got it locally. Paid $160 on eBay, came over and picked it up. I had some other really dope bikes that I bought and sold. I had a brand new Schwinn mountain bike, brand spanking new, $12. That had never been ridden. I could tell this bike had never been ridden before. It was at least a $200 mountain bike, at least maybe $300-$400. I got it for $12. There was a heyday for that. There was a heyday for those thrift stores and garage sales and all that kind of stuff. I had a Schwinn road racing bike that I loved. It fit me perfect size-wise. It was a little bit older, but it was a solid, cool, pretty good road racing bike. A lot of people rode this bike. It was in my collection, and people would come over. One thing that would happen is friends would come over to my house, and we'd all decide to go on a bike ride. And I would just be like, come on down, pick out a bike. And so a lot of different people rode this Schwinn bike, and they all wanted to buy it off me. And I kind of would like, I would throw out a price, and people, I don't know, because I wanted to make a few bucks, but I would sell it for $100. I'm like, I'll sell this for $100 to a friend. I paid like $25 for this thing at a yard sale, but this is like a $400 or $500 road racing bike, and I tuned it up and made it perfect. So $100, I mean, that's gonna cover. I didn't really put any money into it, but I put a lot of TLC into that thing and made it like it was a brand new bike. And it was a sweet bike. It was just older. It was, the way the cables were routed and stuff were like 80s style, with the brake cables coming up and over the handlebars and not tucked into the bar, and hidden, and, all streamlined like things are now. And, but it had that, it was an 80s funk, cool ass road bike, and it was fast. And it was a nice, it was like 52 or 54 centimeter. It fit me pretty good, but it was a little small and tight. But I like them. I like a smaller bike more than I like a bigger bike. But I don't know if it was like a little too small for me. But it was a sweet bike for $25. But a lot of my friends rode this bike, and they all loved it. They all wanted it. But nobody wanted to pay me $100. I'm like, come on, this $100. Hook a brother up, man. I'm like, I'll give you free. I'll take care of it for you. If you got something you need, bring it over. I'll fix it. I had a whole fucking bike shop at my house. I'm like, there's really nothing on this, especially these vintage bikes. There's nothing on this bike I can't fix right in front of you while you watch, unless we need a part that I don't have. And but that was the cool thing about having all these bicycles. I had these Schwinn lowrider chopper bikes. They look like American chopper, like motorcycles where you sit down and they got the big ape hanger bars and they're all low to the ground and they got pedals, and I had a set of those. And they were in my dining room as decorations. So it was just, there was like space in the dining room, and there was this theme going on, this like cantina, Mexican cantina theme with this tiled table, and there were some things going on in this room, and I had these 3 cool ass vintage bicycles parked, one vintage bicycle chopper bike and these two Schwinn choppers parked in the dining room. And it looked cool. It looked like a restaurant layout kind of a thing. But people would come over and see the chopper bikes and they'd be like, oh, I want to ride one of those. I'd be like, let's go for a ride. Because there was a park right next to the house. And there was this loop road that went around the park. And it was a tranquil, like, couple miles long, like maybe it would be like a 5-mile ride. We'd go down the street, go into the park entrance, and it was this loop that goes around the woods, and it goes downhill and around a bunch of turns and curves, and then it flattens out for a little bit, and then there's a hill that you climb back up that's not really that steep, and then you just get back to the entrance road. And when it came down to those chopper bikes, nobody wanted to do 2 laps. Maybe my best friend and I, but we would go and do races with these fucking things. We'd take them out because they matched. One was red, one was black. We'd get on these chopper bikes and go for a ride around the park. But if it was like me and my best friend or me and somebody else, like 2 dudes, we're racing the choppers. But if it was like me and a girl's coming to hang out or something, like a girl that I'm dating comes over and sees the chopper bikes, I want to ride one, let's go. We do this all the time. We take these chopper bikes out to the park, wheel them right out of the dining room, through the living room, through the office, out into the street, go for a chopper ride around the park and back. And usually the girls, 1 lap around the park, that was enough. But it was fun. Everybody had a blast on these things. And then when I moved, I sold those. Somebody came and bought them both. They were kind of sought after. They weren't really old or vintage. This was like a thing Schwinn was putting out. They were in like Walmart. They were like, you could buy these things at Walmart in different places. They weren't like rare, but I don't really see them around anymore, but I don't really look for them. I bought both of them off of somebody on Craigslist dirt cheap, and I sold them for as much or more than what I paid. But the entertainment value of having those things for all the years that I had them, and they were both in mint condition when I got rid of them. They were beautiful, and they were fun, and they were hilarious to ride and race on. And I kept them in good condition, and they were always ride ready. And so that just the novelty of having those 2 things to just anybody who comes over to visit, hey, those are pretty cool. Want to go for a ride? Yeah, let's do it. We're off. So I had like a whole fucking bike shop in my house. Like I had 50 bicycles when I moved out of that house. And so it was just fun to sell all that stuff, because when my son was born, I had to tighten up. We moved into a smaller place that was more efficient on the heating and the utilities and stuff. And I got rid of all that stuff that was taking up too much room. And because I wouldn't have had any place to put all that stuff in this new house. And so but I had a nice big chunk of money from that helped with the move and helped with the expenses for the first couple of months and got us through the winter. And I also had a job, and it wasn't like I wasn't making good money, but it was good enough to get us through. And my career really didn't start to take off until after I moved out to Amish country in 2016. From 2016 to 2022, it just kept taking off one level after the next, and every time I got a new job, it was a significant raise, and then I was making big money. But it didn't happen until it really didn't start to come together until a couple of years before the FBI came. And so I don't know. Somebody asked me in a comment, would you run a bicycle shop out of a van? Yes. Totally. But there's people that do that. There's people that buy box trucks, like a U-Haul box truck style truck, and they have a mobile bike shop in those. You can do it out of a cargo van. I've seen it done different ways. I don't think that. I think the best way to do that. So having the van, having a box truck, and having that mobile bike shop. What that does for you more than anything is gives you access to the wholesalers, so you can buy parts at wholesale. And that was my big, when I had my home bike shop and I thought about taking it seriously and starting to do that as a business, that was the thing I couldn't do. Because in order for a wholesaler to sell to you, I would have had to have like a brick and mortar business, legitimate, like LLC. I would have had to have photographs to back it up. I would have had to show them my insurance, my liability insurance, slip and fall insurance. I basically would have had to have a street presence, legitimate brick and mortar bike shop that customers can come in and out of, not an ad on Craigslist to do bike tune-ups. That wasn't enough. There was a guy out of Puerto Rico who had connections to all the bicycle wholesalers, and I could place orders through this guy, and he would receive the orders from the wholesalers, add a certain convenience fee, I guess, and then ship the orders to me. So that was a potential, but it would have been like the wait for shipments would have been kind of ridiculous, because I'd have to tell the guy what I want, order it, wait for him to order it, wait for him to receive it, and then he would have to pack and ship it from Puerto Rico to me. And so that's a long, like that's basically, that's the closest I was able to get to getting wholesale prices and proper bike shop pricing for parts and stuff. I had access, I went to a bike shop in Pittsburgh. A lot of people on Craigslist flamed me and got mad. The hipsters, the liberals got mad because I'm taking away business from this local bike shop that they all love. But the guy who runs that bike shop doesn't want to work on bikes. He flat out does not. Now, I don't even know if the guy's still alive. I'd have to look this up because he may have sold it off to somebody. But it was like a Pittsburgh, it's called Kranix Bike Shop. And it's just a small little shop in the middle of one of the hipster neighborhoods. And it's like a neighborhood bike shop. And the guy has parts and all kinds of wacky shit from just about any old vintage bike you can imagine. And then some. He doesn't have high-end modern race bike and modern bike parts. He can get stuff like that, but typically, he's there to help you fix and maintain your standard bicycles. But he has an entire workshop area full of bike work stands and truing stands and all kinds of shop equipment, and he wants you to come buy stuff and work on your own bikes. So anytime I needed stuff for the bikes that I'm working on, I bought stuff from him. So I wasn't taking away from his business. In fact, I was bringing him business because I bought all my stuff from him unless he didn't have it. He was the first bike shop I went to if I needed brake cables and tires and tubes and basic stuff and parts for bikes. Anything that I needed, I'd be like, hey, do you got this? You got that? And I'm like coming in week after week with people's bikes. And I'm like, hey, you mind if I use that frame straightening tool set you got? And like, can I use those dropout alignment tools? And like, I would also like people, because it was like a spirit of collectiveness there. So like other people would be there working on their bikes and people would have questions and stuff. And I'd be like, oh, I can help you with that. I know what to do. Or like I could show people how to use tools and stuff if I was there, or like how to fix this, how to do that. And if I heard somebody had a question, I'd jump in and, do my part. It was a community bike shop kind of a thing. And so, but I was thankful to have access to tools that I didn't have in my own shop. Sometimes I would just take a ride out there with a bike that needed something and I don't have the tool for it. I'll go buy a bunch of stuff from him that I need and use some of his tools to fix a bike for somebody. Expensive tools that I didn't buy or have my own yet. Sometimes I would buy tools from him. But I wouldn't order stuff from him, but this was before Amazon had everything in stock. This was back in the day when Amazon was still really... Amazon sold books, and they weren't really a place to go. It wasn't like it is today. Now with Amazon, yes, you can pretty much get anything you need. And he gave me discounts on stuff. If I bought a whole bunch of if I bought a whole pile of cables and tubes and tires, he'd give me a discount. Not a huge discount, but enough. And so I could sell stuff to my customers for retail, but I'm really not making any money off of it. Like, he might give me a 10% discount when I buy a bunch of stuff, and then I'm selling the stuff back to my customers at retail. So I'm basically making 10% profit off of those things, or whatever that turns into. I'm paying $8 for let's say I paid $8 for a $10 tire, and I charged the client $10 for the tire. I was making money off my labor, and that was it. And so the thing is, if I had a relationship with a wholesaler, I could have been getting tires for like $2 for a $10 tire. Inner tubes for 99 cents and selling them for $5-6. That kind of stuff. I could have been doing that all day long and actually making money off of the parts that I'm selling people and the labor. But in order to get a wholesaler to sell to you, that's a whole thing. That's difficult to do. But if you have one of those mobile bike shop vans that is a legitimate business, and you can show that, like, you've got an LLC, especially an LLC versus a sole proprietorship, and you've got some legitimate business paperwork, some insurance, and you've got bills in your business name, if you can prove to them that you're not... What they don't want you to do is buy wholesale and buy a whole bunch of shit in bulk and then throw it up on eBay for sale at retail. And cutting off because they're there to supply bicycle shops, and bike shops would get pissed if they knew that their distributors were selling to everybody on the street at wholesale, and then watching the people on the street turn around and flip the stuff on eBay and make money that way, because then nobody's going into the bike shops anymore, and the bike shops are all going to turn on the distributors and be like, well, fuck you, we're not buying from you anymore. And so it's kind of like they're doing that, for a legitimate reason. But for me, as like the little independent bike repair guy, it was very, very, very difficult to try and get. I would have taken my business to the next level if I had access to something like that. It would have actually flipped my thought process into sticking with it and turning it into something more. I did have a chance to buy a small bicycle shop. There was a rental business in Pittsburgh right on one of the bicycle trails. And it was a nice shop, really nice shop. And the business was for sale for about $10,000. All their rental bicycles, all their tools, the entire shop, the cash register, possibly laptops, like whatever the assets were for the business, about $10,000 to take it over. But I wouldn't own the building. The building was owned by the city of Pittsburgh, and there was a lease, and I would have to pay the lease. But this all happened in September. And I went and looked at it. I talked to them. I didn't open their books. I didn't get that serious about it. I kind of I'm like, I want to see, I didn't get into the whole, Like, I didn't open the books and see like details, like what their sales were month over month. And my biggest beef was I would have to pay the 10 grand, buy this business in September, ride out the winter paying the rent to the city. I would have to continue funding. I would have to pay a bunch of money and last all winter. And then come spring, start making money on the business. And so that kind of turned me off from doing it. Even though that in hindsight, that winter would have given me time to like build up something better and get more, like turn it into something better than it was. My idea was to turn it into a full bicycle shop, not just a rental business, because it wasn't in a great spot for a bike rental. It wasn't like out in the open and it wasn't visible. It wasn't like an obvious place to go rent a bike. So like nobody knew about it. And so I would have been better at getting the word out that there's a bike rental down here. And I would have turned it into a repair shop and a place to maybe for people to come work on their bikes. I would have opened it up to the bicycle community and done like that kind of a concept where people could buy parts, work on their own bikes, that kind of stuff, but also offer full service bike shop and possibly there were certain bicycle companies that if I had a brick and mortar shop already, I've got access to the wholesalers and all that. But certain bicycle brands will sell on consignment more or less, where you don't pay them anything. You just pay them when the bikes sell. Certain brands I would have been able to get my foot off the ground. I knew a little bit about how to do it. But the biggest turnoff for me was having to go October, November, December, January, February, March, and then maybe in April start doing business. And I would have had to pay 6 months worth of bills on a place that I'm making absolutely nothing on. And I would have had to pour my heart and soul into it. But somebody did buy it and kind of did exactly what I wanted to do with it. And I don't know how long it lasted. I don't know how far they took it, but I thought, that looked like they were doing pretty good for a while. I don't know if it lasted. I don't know that, plus the fact that you don't own the building and the city could come in and do whatever they want to you. And then, so if the city came in and shut me down and threw me out of the building because they want to do something else with it, what do I do? Now I've got all these assets to sell off. Would I even be able to make back the money I bought it? Do I have $10,000 in bikes to sell and liquidate all the assets of the business to try and recover it all? Can I do that? The whole thing was just kind of but it could have made good money. But the location was kind of off. And it would have taken a lot of promotion for people to even know it was there. There was a parking garage right next to it, so that was a plus because people could come down, like a family want to rent a bike and go on a bike ride. It's right on the bicycle trail, so that was nice. People coming in from out of town, it wasn't too far. That would have been the thing I would have worked on more, was making sure all the hotels were stocked and know, hey, there's a bicycle rental right down the street. If you're coming in from out of town, that would have been where I spent all of my time promoting it. But I would have needed insurance, especially, fall off your bicycle and break your neck insurance. And, there was just a lot of stuff that, any of these things sound great on the surface. And when you start looking in detail, what's this going to cost? What's the insurance going to cost? What's this going to do? You start looking at all of it together and it starts to get scary. And you're like, I don't know. Yes, I could do it, I could possibly make a profit, but here's all the pitfalls. Here's all the ways it could fail. And it just didn't tell me I was just like, I don't know. It's a risky thing. I could put a bunch of money into it and just turn around and lose everything. Why are the people that own it selling it? You know what I mean? Why are they trying to get out of it? But they weren't, when I met the owners, they weren't really like bicycle savvy either. Like I could tell that they thought it was a good business idea, and yes it was in its own way, but they weren't bicycle people. They were like, they thought it was just a good idea and open this thing up, but they didn't know how to work on bikes. They weren't bicycle people. They hired kids to come in and work on the bikes and stuff. So like, but they knew some things about running a business, but they didn't know about bikes. The people that bought it from them were bike people. I know that for a fact. But I don't know. I could even look that up. I know it may still be there to this day. It may be gone. I don't know. It's just interesting, some of the things that, but I had ideas of, that would have given me a home base to do my bicycle flipping and selling bicycles online. I could have expanded that out, and just having a brick and mortar presence would have allowed me to do certain things and have access to things that not having a storefront would barred me from, even though I wanted to do stuff online and make money online. This bicycle shop that I looked at down in Galveston that's looking for a mechanic right now, they basically look like the kind of bike shop I wanted to run in this situation, except they have a really great location. They're on the beach at a place where people are going to be looking to rent bicycles for a weekend when they go hang out at their beach house or whatever. So it looks like they get a lot of rental business there. And on top of that, I think they buy and sell used bikes. I don't know. They may have new bikes. I didn't really pay attention to the lines and brands that they sell, but they post a lot of pictures when people buy bikes there. They have a wall of pictures where people get their bikes, a picture on their bike in front of this wall that they've got painted up. And so I can see the kind of bikes they sell. And it's a lot of beach cruisers and stuff like that. And, bikes that you're going to ride up and down the boardwalk and that kind of stuff. And so, they don't look like they're selling $20,000 Cervelo race bikes, carbon fiber kitted and all that, hydraulic disc brakes and the whole nine. They're selling bikes that regular people ride around the beach. And, but it seemed like a cool vibe. And it seemed like that was the kind of bike shop that I would want to run, except for also not catering to the high-end bicycle crowd, but people who like real bikes at the same time, like, mountain bikers, roadies, that kind of stuff, and at least having some of the things that they'd be looking for, but probably not catering to them like certain bike shops in Pittsburgh cater to mountain bikers. Some of them cater to the snobby, uppity $20,000 road racing bike crowd. And each bike shop tries to find their own little niche. And mine would have been like the neighborhood guys, the neighborhood bikers, the rental people. But also like somebody coming in from out of town that likes riding nice bikes. Hey, do you got any nice bikes to rent? Well, maybe I do. What size? That kind of thing. So, I don't know. Somebody asked me, did you think about a bike shop in a van? Yes, and I've seen it. Would I do it right now? It's a big investment. And a lot of other people are doing it right now. It's not really... There's a guy not too far from me who has like a garage bicycle shop. I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen... if I type in bike shops on Google Maps, it shows up on the map and it's like a guy's house. So, sometimes you can run a bike shop out of your garage or your home and actually legitimize it. Where I bought my first real bicycle was in a garage bike shop in the town that I lived, but the garage was completely turned into a bicycle shop, and it had like a building next to the garage with all the bicycles, and it was a legitimate shop. And then the garage itself was where they worked on the bikes, and it had a paved driveway, and he had an official sign out front. It was a straight up bike shop, but it was, it was out of a guy's house. He was a cool dude. There were two bike shops like that in town, but one of them didn't. One of them went out of business while we were kids, and this one stayed in business. And they had a reputation. All the little bike shops around the region all compete with each other and talk shit about each other. But he was a cool dude. Fuck, man, running a little bike shop out of your own garage, that's a cool thing. And he had nice bikes in there for what it was. It wasn't as nice as the bikes in the bike shop I worked at in the next town over, but that was a legitimate brick and mortar bike shop in a plaza with much more money invested into it. And it was still a neighborhood bike shop, but it wasn't this wasn't like a garage hobby bike shop. So I don't know, there's lots of things you can do, but it's not free. And there's some risk involved, and I'm not at a place where I can even think about doing any of that. I've got a bag of tools. I've got 2 tools coming tomorrow. So I took my water bottle back to Amazon. I got my refund. I ordered a new water bottle cage and a bottle to try and use for that spot on my bike. It's a very specific thing I'm trying to fix. And it's one of those things I got to experiment till I find the solution that works. And I think this is going to be the one that works. And for $20, it's a better solution than a $50 solution, in my opinion, especially if it's an upgrade for me and it works and it's something I'm just going to probably the rest of the lifespan of this bike. That's how it's going to be. Perfect. That's perfect. $20 to fix that problem. I'll be fine with that. So I had some extra money on my Amazon account from all these returns. And so I bought 2 or 3 tools that I'm missing from my tool collection. Mostly to do, I bought a spoke ruler that also measures bearing sizes and stuff like that. It's just a standard shop tool. I bought a clip-on wheel truing device, which that was kind of but it came with a cool spoke wrench. So it was basically the spoke wrench that I was buying, but it came with this little thing that you can clip on to your bike, and it helps you true your wheels when you're on when you're just working on a bike in the work stand and you don't have a real wheel truing stand. A good wheel truing stand's like $400. A shitty one is like $100. So, so I got a little dinky tool that came with a spoke wrench. And I was like, well, it comes with a spoke wrench that's worth the cost of the tool. And then those are the 2 tools I got. But a handy little thing to keep in a portable bike toolkit, that's not a big thing. So those are coming tomorrow along with my water bottles and stuff, my water bottle stuff. But I still got like $10 left on that Amazon account. So I'm riding the Silver Bullet tomorrow, I think, to go to the bakery and back, because I haven't ridden it since I changed the seat post. And I did one other thing to the bike. I can't even remember. Oh, I put a new water bottle cage on it. So now I can carry my coffee water bottle and it's not going to fly out or shake or rattle around. It's going to be held extremely tight. And tomorrow I've got some O-rings for my water bottle cages. I got 10 of those, and I'm only using 3 of them right now. One of them has an O-ring, so I need 2 out of the 10 on my Red Rocket to make those water bottle cages like brand new again. And that'll hold the water bottles even tighter than they already are. And then I've got 8 more. That'll probably last me the lifespan of those bicycles. I haven't even put O-rings on those water bottle cages since since the mid 2000s when I built that bike up. They broke, and I just decided I never bothered replacing them. But then I saw how cheap they were, and I'm like, I might as well just get a pack of 10, and then I'll have them for for years. That's 20 years worth of O-rings as long as they don't dry rot. And so I'm just going part by part on these bikes and just like trying to make, because they're my main transportation, so I'm taking the care of my bicycles to a level that I didn't do when they were just riding for fun. And I'm trying to keep, it's more like maintaining race bikes when you're in the Tour de France and you're racing every day and you've got a team of mechanics that are basically stripping down the bike and making sure the bikes are perfect every morning. And I'm not taking it to that level, but I am once a month basically giving my bikes a full tune-up from top to bottom. And also, every time I do that, I pick something that I'm going to replace and upgrade or make better than it already is, and I spend the time it takes to do that. And so my next project on the Red Rocket will be adding a thumb shifter for the front derailleur. I've got the parts picked out. I have everything I need on Amazon in a shopping list, so that'll be easy to do. But I'm not doing any of that stuff until after I move. And then after I move, I got to figure out, like, how am I even going to work on the bicycles inside? Because it's not something I'm going to want to do outside often. Or maybe I can maybe I can set up a temporary bike shop outside. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, that's one of those things that I've taken pictures of the inside of the place. I got to measure things out and see how would this all actually fit if I wanted to do that. And right now I don't think it does, but I worked on my bicycles here inside this tiny house last weekend, or the weekend before, or whatever it was. Yeah, last weekend it was. And I didn't have any problems with space. The only problems I ran into was keeping the sprays and the lubricants and the drips and the grease and stuff from going all over the place and getting places where I didn't want it to get. And so if I can figure that out in my new place, where to keep the bicycles stored, and just like how do I efficiently manage the space in that place so that it all fits and works. Once I figure out how to do all that, I'm good to go. But with that, I'm going to let you all go this for real this time. I know it's a long video of me just rambling, but we're almost to the finish line. I'm getting out of this fucking place. Hopefully when I get into the new place, I'm sure there'll be problems. Nothing is ever going to be perfect, but I feel like I'm making an upgrade, and at that, I'm at peace with it. The decision's made, the money's paid. We'll see how it goes, and we're just going to go from there. Peace out.